she's staring at.
Star Soldier, released in 1989 for the Nintendo Entertainment System courtesy of Hudson Soft and Taxon, is a vertical scrolling space shooter where you control a little ship and blow up anything that moves as well as anything that does not. Star Soldier is somewhat similar to the old Tekhan space shooter Star Force, except this one is slightly quicker and has more stuff. Also, Star Soldier ended up with the long-running franchise, while Star Force got, one sequel nobody's ever heard of, let alone play. So, 1 point for Star Soldier, because that's probably all it's getting. Yeah, full disclosure, I am not a fan of Star Soldier. I think it's a pretty drab shooter, even by NES standards, and I'm only doing this video to get it out of the way so that we could get to the sequels on the TurboGrafx, which is where the series really made its mark and started to get good, or whatever the vernacular is. So there's going to be a hint of a bias here, but I'll try to be nice. Somewhat. In all seriousness, you fly a little ship, you blow up other little ships that will occasionally drop power-ups to boost your firepower and eventually give you a defensive shield that will protect you from a hit, which will also downgrade your firepower. Every so often you'll fight a mini-boss thing, and every so often further you'll fight a star brain boss thing, which every 4th level or so upgrades to a big star brain for added variety or whatever, so that's a fun time. And speaking of time, you only have a limited amount of it to kill the brain or else it will go away and you have to restart the level. Brilliant. And sometimes you'll fly underneath scenery that will keep you away from enemy fire, but you cannot fire back while there, and I don't know, sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. It seems like a random occurrence. They stopped doing that shit for the sequels, I think, and that's probably for the best. It's a nice idea on paper, but the execution not so much. Other than that, Star Soldier is about as basic of a scrolling shooter as you can get without diving into the depths of Galaga or that sort of thing, and the concept is fairly straightforward. I don't think we need to do a deep dive on how things work. Control is pretty straightforward. D-pad moves the ship, buttons shoot lasers. It works, it's functional, it's nothing to really complain about. The gameplay is fast-paced and frantic, which provides a nice healthy challenge, especially on later levels where things get really hectic. And there's secret bits you can uncover for bonus points if you're so inclined. Nothing out of the ordinary, nothing really groundbreaking, it's just straightforward, simple shmup fare, and it's totally fine. And because it's a fairly basic scrolling shooter, Star Soldier is also visually basic fare. You have little ships that look adequately little but distinct, the terrain is somewhat plain looking but distinct, and the ducking cover system where your ship flies underneath the structure is a neat effect by NES standards circa 1989, even if it doesn't entirely function all that well. For what it's worth, it plays faster, isn't hampered by slowdown, some flickering here and there, but that's about it really. As for the audio, couple tunes at most, nothing really exciting. Sound effects are kind of sound effects for a shmup, nothing special. I guess I gotta wait until this series hits the TurboGrafx for the really good audio shit from this series. Overall, well, you have to start somewhere, and Star Soldier is definitely a starting point for a beloved series. The best I could say is that it is a perfectly adequate shooter that's fun for a lark, and plays as well as it should. All in all, this one's merely okay, and for a couple bucks at most, is worth a place in your NES library. But the sequels are way the fuck better and are more worthy of your time than this. And even on this front, I prefer Star Force on the NES anyway, so yeah, whatever on Star Soldier. Not my cup of tea.